welcome or welcome back. I'm Anna, clinical psychology doctoral intern. Today we're going to be talking about the 4 killers of relationships by John Gottman's research. I've actually made a video about this before on the golden relationship formula. I'm talking specifically about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse today, which is part of that formula, but not the complete story of it. I'm probably going to make a separate video on what he calls master versus disaster couples, so stay tuned for that. But John Gottman, in his extensive research with couples, looked at what are the things that predict divorce versus staying together. And in the short term, this thing called the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse predicted divorce. I personally would say that these things apply not just to romantic relationships, but also to any type of relationship. You know, when I think back on relationships I've had in the past that had these 4 ingredients, it makes sense that they're no longer in my life. The reason I'm remaking this video is that I am extremely perfectionistic and I'm just not happy with that video. It was one of my first videos like 3 years ago. I was, 23 years old, fresh as a cucumber. Bless my heart, I didn't really know how to speak on YouTube quite yet. I was still just getting into it. And I just want to do a fresh version for you all. Let's see, before I say these 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, if you can guess in the comments what they are. No cheating if you already know the answers. Thank you. So the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, the 4 things to avoid in a relationship are criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. Criticism is what it sounds like. Most people understand criticism is when you're verbally attacking someone or constantly making them feel like what they're doing isn't enough, questioning their character or their personality. Instead of criticizing, a specific behavior, you're criticizing them as a human being, saying that there's something about them that's just not enough. Contempt is a step further from criticism. Contempt is kind of the sense of superiority over the other person, a sense that they are inferior to you, that they are somehow not worthy as a human being, actually trying to make them feel that way. And this is the absolute worst of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, because it makes sense. If you don't respect your partner, if you don't think that they are a worthy person, you're probably not going to last in that relationship. You cannot have a relationship that doesn't have a basic foundation of respect and care. Defensiveness is also what it sounds like. It's when you cannot take responsibility for what you've done. If someone comes to you with a piece of criticism or contempt, it's very easy to get defensive, but a lot of people get defensive even when someone comes to them with constructive criticism. They just can't take it. They don't want to acknowledge that they did something wrong. They think that it reflects poorly on them. They can't handle their own shame about the situation. They're trying to convince themselves that there's nothing wrong with their behavior. They're not able to listen to the other person's perspective to truly understand what they're coming from. They might play the victim to deflect blame and instead project it onto the person that in their eyes made them feel so bad. And the 4th horseman is stonewalling. And this is when you retreat emotionally, when you sort of shut down. Particularly Gottman found that this happens when people are physiologically aroused, meaning their heart rate's over 100 beats per minute. They are trying to soothe themselves, and the only way they can really do that is to sort of retreat back into their shell like a little turtle. Or sometimes people stonewall because consciously or unconsciously they want to punish their partner. So they cease to be emotionally or verbally responsive, or they might turn away, give the other person the silent treatment, flat out leave the room, just stare at them, and so forth. So let me show you a little skit about how these 4 horsemen actually look in a typical partner-to-partner interaction. Bob, you didn't put away the dishes. It wasn't my turn to. Yes, it was. You never do anything that I tell you to. Fine, I guess I'm just the worst boyfriend in the world. You know what? You just might be. I'm getting out of here. So that's all fine and dandy, but what are the antidotes to these 4 horsemen according to Gottman? The antidote to criticism is something called a gentle startup. By the way, did you know that my cat is a Bombay cat? I just recently learned this, and I found out also that some people on YouTube have realized she's a Bombay cat, and I had no idea what that was. So Takes a few years to learn that your cat's a rare breed, I guess. Anyway, as I was saying, a gentle startup is basically when you explain the facts of the situation, explain how you feel about it, and ask for what you need. Specifically, like it sounds like, in a gentle way, doing it gently as opposed to coming in hot, because if you come in hot, it's probably not going to go very well. So for instance, a gentle startup could be saying something like, I feel angry and jealous and hurt and betrayed when I hear the way that your coworker speaks to you. It would make me feel more reassured if you asked him to not speak to you so inappropriately. Bonus points if you can throw in there affection, humor, a calm, light tone, pet names, anything that again makes it really gentle in the way you're approaching the situation. Then the antidote to contempt is building a culture of appreciation. And this is not something that you can do one time and then you feel like, okay, there's no contempt in our relationship. It's something that obviously needs to be a foundation. You cannot let contempt take hold because you actively in your everyday life appreciate your partner, show gratitude, express thanks, and view them in a positive, frankly idealized way. There are certain people who come into a room and survey it looking for everything wrong with it, everything that needs to be fixed, everything that needs to be criticized that the other people around them did. And then there are people who enter a room and you can just tell they're bright, happy, a ball of sunshine. They're giving out thanks to people. They're really showing gratitude to everyone. They're pointing out the things that are going well. So building a culture of appreciation can be saying to your partner, hey, thank you for making me coffee this morning. You smell nice. I loved our date night last week. Anything that just helps you focus on the positive. If you build a culture of appreciation, it's going to be very difficult to view your partner with contempt, both internally and externally, meaning you're not going to feel as negatively about them and you're not going to communicate to them that you view them so negatively, that you see them as so inferior to you. Try to idealize them a little bit. And yes, it's important to have a dialectical, well-rounded view of people, but I think with a long-term partner, it is really important to maintain that sense of this is the coolest person in the world. The antidote to defensiveness is to take responsibility. This is going to be a hard one for some people. It requires, before you defend yourself against a piece of criticism, actually considering that the other person might have a point, that there could be something that you're missing, that they might be right, even if your initial instinct is to think, no, they're wrong, I don't do this. And even if you don't think that they're right about this point of contention, consider the benefits of still agreeing with them or still taking responsibility. You know, if someone says to you, hey, I feel like you do this and that, you disagree. At the very least saying, okay, I understand what you're saying, I think I'll try to do this more, prevents a rupture from happening. Saying things like, I'm sorry, I apologize, I was wrong, you're right, I take responsibility, I won't do it again, are examples of taking responsibility. A caveat here is do not do this, obviously, if your partner is emotionally abusive and tends to blame you for everything that goes wrong in a relationship. You might be wondering, okay, how do I know if that's the case? How do I know if I just feel that they blame me too much or if they actually do blame me too much? To answer that question, I would ask you, do they ever take responsibility? And when you come to them with a point of constructive criticism, how do they take that? Because people who are emotionally abusive, in most cases, will not take responsibility, and when you come to them with something, will blame it back on you. And lastly, the antidote to stonewalling is self-soothing. Now, ideally, you don't get to stonewalling because you aren't that physiologically aroused. The conversation hasn't escalated to the point where you need to soothe yourself. But if you do get to that point, it's really important to be able to take some time and to comfort yourself while making it very clear to the other person that you're not punishing them, you're not doing this to send them some kind of point. It's really just so that you can come back to the conversation more refreshed and with a better outlook. So this can look like telling the other person that you just need some time or some space, that you're not mad at them, giving them an estimated time of arrival when you're going to be coming back, being kind about it rather than punitive, and during that time, doing something that helps you de-escalate, whether it's going for a walk, playing an instrument, practicing a coping skill, jumping in a cold shower, doing a workout, playing with your cat, whatever helps you get your heart rate down. So let's see that previous interaction with the antidotes of the four horsemen as opposed to the four horsemen themselves. Hey Bob, I noticed you didn't put the dishes away last night, and it would really help me feel less hectic in the morning if you could do them the night before. You're right, I'm sorry, I got carried away working on the car last night. I know, and I appreciate that you fixed the car. Alright, that's all for today, folks. Let me know what you thought in the comments. I'll see you soon.